Another day, another story. Russian forces were battling Ukrainian troops for a third day on Thursday after they smashed through the Russian border in the Kursk region, an audacious attack on the world's biggest nuclear power that has forced Moscow to call in reserves. In one of the biggest Ukrainian attacks on Russia of the two-year war, around 1,000 Ukrainian troops rammed through the Russian border in the early hours of August 6 with tanks and armored vehicles, covered in the air by swarms of drones and pounding artillery, according to Russian officials. Ukrainian forces swept through the fields and forests of the border towards the north of the border town of Sudza, the last operational trans-shipping point for Russian natural gas to Europe via Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin cast the attack as a major provocation. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. The White House said the United States opens new tab. Ukraine's biggest backer had no prior knowledge of the attack and would seek more details from Kyiv. Russia's most senior general, Chief of General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, told Putin on Wednesday that the Ukrainian offensive had been halted in the border area. But multiple pro-Russian military bloggers said the battles continued into Thursday and that civilians were being evacuated. A state of emergency has been declared in the Kursk region of Russia, as a rare cross-border attack by Ukrainian troops continued on Wednesday. The acting regional governor, Alexei Smirnov, said the move was necessary to eliminate the consequences of enemy forces coming into the region. Russian officials said at least 5 civilians had been killed and 31 wounded, 6 of them children, since the start of the incursion. Ukraine has not officially commented and the depth of the incursion remains unclear. Why has Ukraine launched a cross-border attack on Russia? On Tuesday morning, up to 1,000 Ukrainian troops, as well as 11 tanks and more than 20 armored combat vehicles, entered Russia near the town of Sudza, Moscow said. Fighting reportedly took place in a number of villages throughout Tuesday, with local authorities urging residents to limit their movements and all public events cancelled. A number of air alerts were issued in Kursk and footage posted online. Thousands of people were evacuated from border areas and doctors were being drafted in from other cities, Mr. Smirnov said. Ukrainian incursions into Russian territory have been extremely rare since Russia launched its full-scale invasion in February 2022. On Wednesday evening, Ukrainian MP Oleksiy Honcharenko said the Ukrainian army had established control over the Sudza gas hub, a major gas facility involved in the transit of natural gas from Russia to the EU via Ukraine, which has continued despite the war. It is the only point of entry for Russian gas into the EU. Although the claim has not been verified by the BBC, Mr. Honcharenko's comment was the first confirmation of an incursion into Russian territory by a Ukrainian official. Mr. Honcharenko said on Facebook that while he did not know what the plan behind the incursion was, it would show Europeans and Americans that Russia can and needs to be attacked. Russia's military response to the incursion will be one of Andrei Belousov's first big leadership tests as the country's new defense minister, after he replaced his long-serving predecessor Sergei Shoigu in May. Speaking to the BBC's NewsHour, Mr. Honcharenko added that, from a military point of view, we are trying to take back the initiative. We are showing the world that the world should not be scared of escalation or the reaction of Putin. There is no reaction, he said. For the first time since the Second World War, Russian territory that is internationally recognized is occupied and Putin did not turn to nukes and so on. He said the incursion would also force Russia to move troops to the region and hopefully decrease the number of attacks it can carry out in eastern Ukraine. Heavy fighting in Sudza. In a televised meeting with government officials on Wednesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin accused Ukraine of launching a major provocation and firing indiscriminately at civilian buildings and residences. Russia's Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov said that advance into the Kursk region had been stopped, with Russian forces continuing to destroy the adversary in areas directly adjacent to the Russian-Ukrainian border. Mr. Gerasimov said Ukrainian forces aimed to take over the area around the town of Sudza, and that Russia had already killed 100 men and injured another 215. However, some popular and generally well-informed pro-war telegram channels suggested the situation on the ground was not as stable as the Kremlin said. Blogger Yuri Kotenak described the battles taking place in Sudza and nearby Koronivo as heavy, while the channel Rybar said that the situation in the area around Sudza was continuing to deteriorate, and Ukrainian formations were advancing towards the town. The influential pro-war Rybar telegram channel went on to strongly criticize the highest ranks of the Russian military on Wednesday, saying that, for 2 months the full information was sent to the useless headquarters, adding that there was enough time to make an appropriate decision. Map of Ukraine and Russia showing Sudza on Wednesday, the head of the Ukrainian region of Sumy, Volodymyr Artyuk, ordered the evacuation of the areas that border Kursk. One colonel in Ukraine's military, Vladislav Seleznyov, told the prominent Nexta channel the attack was preventative, with an estimated 75,000 Russian troops continuing to gather close to the border. After a major cross-border incursion by Russia into the northeastern Kharkiv region in May, there had been fears Moscow would attempt the same into the Sumy region further north. With Ukraine now apparently capturing several settlements and highways the other way, those ambitions may well have been frustrated for now. But with Ukrainian forces already overstretched and outmanned, some military analysts are questioning the wisdom of such cross-border raids. This is not the first incursion into Russia by fighters based in Ukraine. Some groups of anti-Kremlin Russians launched raids last year, which were repelled. Critical juncture. The battles around Sudza come at a crucial juncture in the conflict, the biggest land war in Europe since World War II. Kyiv is concerned that U.S. support could drop off if Republican Donald Trump wins the November presidential election. Trump has said he would end the war, and both Russia and Ukraine are keen to gain the strongest possible bargaining position on the battlefield. Ukraine wants to pin down Russian forces, which control 18% of its territory, though the strategic significance of the border offensive was not immediately clear. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said the Ukrainian attack was an attempt to force Russia to divert resources from the front and to show the West that Ukraine could still fight. As a result of the Kursk attack, Medvedev said, Russia should expand its war aims to include taking all of Ukraine. From this moment on, the SVO, Special Military Operation, should acquire an openly extraterritorial character, Medvedev said, adding that Russian forces should go to Odessa, Kharkiv, Dnipro, Mykolaiv, Kyiv, and beyond. We will stop only when we consider it acceptable and profitable for ourselves. Gas was still flowing through Sudza via the Urengoy-Pomeri-Uzhhorod pipeline, which carried about 14.65 billion cubic meters of gas in 2023, about half of Russia's gas exports to Europe. Russia's National Guard said it had beefed up security around the Kursk nuclear power station, which lies about 60 kilometers northeast of the town. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.